What's up, guys? It's your boy Zowoki back out with another of the Chris Watts and Nicholkessinger video. And today I wanted to take an even zoomed in crazy look at Chris Watts' truck and the dimensions and trying to bring facts to what he said, stating that he put Shanann inside the truck with his children and so forth, which again I so heartily disbelieve was the truth. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open this Pandora's box of the work truck with the inclusion of Michelle After Dark and her video on the work truck search seems and reveals major mistakes, and so forth, all that above. So before we go any further, if you guys could do me a solid favor and subscribe to the YouTube channel by hitting that white bar icon down at the bottom right. Hit that bell icon next to it so when I do post videos like this one, you guys can get that little ring notification that Zowoki myself has posted that video, and then you guys can watch, comment, like, and share. And again, thank you guys so very much for the support. We are almost to 60,000 subscribers. Now, again, don't forget to hit the link in the description for Michelle After Dark. This woman has just hit 80K, so go over there and congratulate her and so forth like that. Again, this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. So what I say doesn't necessarily mean it's factual. I want to make that very clear. What I say is not completely factual. When I come up with my possible theories, I can't give you the certified educational guest on this because I'm not in crime and so forth, all that. But I'm just putting my 2 cents into it. So with that being said, I wanted to get into this right now. So looking at my buddy's back truck, I actually got pictures of his back truck, and funny, lo and behold, it's the same 2015 Super Duty Ford F-250 SRW, I do believe. So this is the back seat on a normal setting of what you would have normally, depending on the person in the front and so forth like that, if they need more room and such. But again, Chris Watts had mentioned that the girls were sitting with their feet on top of their mother's head. So obviously, whatever have you, which way, the girls did not have their car seats in that car. They had their blankets and so forth. I do believe Cece had her baby doll because when he came back, it was all in the garbage. Now, again, an average size woman at her normal belly circumference is going to be 38.7 inches. Now, again, this is average. I do know that there are people out there that are skinnier, bigger, heftier, lumpier, dad bod. I mean, understandably, 38, I don't want women to get mad at me because I'm saying an average size of the women. Being pregnant at 15 weeks, adding a 4 to 5 inch add-on to the 38.97, you're looking at 44, I give it or take between 43 and 44 inches in circumference on the baby at 15 weeks. Again, that is an average sized woman, okay? Now, and again, I know there's going to be people in the comments saying, well, you're not counting for this size and this. I'm saying an average size woman, which Shanann looked as an average size woman. The distance, as you can see inside that back truck, is 20 to 22 inches. Where are you fitting a pregnant 15-year-old woman in the back on the floor? Hold on. I even have something better. Shanann at 15 weeks, the baby the size of an orange, you're telling me he fit Shanann in the back on that floor? There is absolutely no way this is a possibility. Now, what is even more upsetting is I don't even think that when the dogs alerted onto said truck, that evidence was collected, because we never see that. And if we did, where is it? Why can't we see it? The weight of the GPS in the vehicle, it doesn't connect the dots. So I would like to look at this video of Michelle After Dark. Chris Watts' work truck searches reveals major mistakes. I definitely want to see her part take on it. And then at the end of the video, we'll definitely conclude and find and see if our findings and our connections match Miss Michelle as well. So let's take a look.
Your turn signal's on.
It's been on. Might have to turn and hurry.
So they go and look at it.
Dispatch, Frederick 988.
And they're touching it. You shouldn't touch it. I'm glad he took pictures, but...
Can you log Queen Frank Tom 682?
Or
Is
if
this the truck you always drive?
Or if they sat there and said, oh, we need to get a warrant. Get the warrant.
Yeah, you can go in the house, yeah.
And then somebody tried telling me that he put her in one of those steel boxes. I'm like, do you realize how small that is? I feel like they wanted to look more into it, but they just didn't do it. Look at the back.
I don't know, there's no computer in it, so I don't know how.
And it looks in the back.
The computer. Yeah.
The officer looked right where they were carried.
Welcome to another video on the What's on the Murders. It's Michelle here. I hope you're doing well. So today we're going to be looking at some crime scene analysis. Specifically, we're going to be looking at what was analysed in Chris's grey work truck. We know quite a lot about this truck, right? It's property of Anadarko. Chris Watts worked for Anadarko Petroleum, and as part of his job, he got a truck.
And then somebody tried telling me she was put back here. Where? Where do you think she was at?
That he could use for work purposes only, so he couldn't take family around in them. So really only Chris and his work colleagues, possibly if he gave one of those a lift to a scene, would have ever been in that truck. So potentially a lot of...
And this is why people do believe that she might have not been put in this truck. Only the girls were put in this truck, and that's why somebody else had possibly been out the back, is because there's no room in that truck.
Crime scene evidence in that truck, specifically as it was suspected, because Chris told them so, he transported the bodies of his wife Shanann and daughters Bella and Cece from home at 2825 Saratoga Trail to Survey 319, the family's final resting place. At the time that this analysis took place, Chris had only confessed to killing Shanann. He'd not confessed to killing Bella and Cece. Chris said that Shanann had killed Bella and Cece. That's why he killed her.
And he still considers himself a father.
So we also see on the afternoon of the 13th, we see via Officer Coonrod's body cam, Chris being really nervous, behaving very strangely, when next door neighbour Nate showed Officer Coonrod the security camera footage from the front of his home, and we saw Chris backing his truck into the driveway at about 5:18 a.m. as per the GPS on Chris's truck, and then loading things in. Nate said this was very unusual that Chris would do this, loading things in backwards and forwards for approximately half an hour, and then at 5:46.
That's why somebody thinks, and I kind of think too, there was movement in the front, making it look like, oh, he's loading it or whatever, but there was a distraction out the back. I don't know how much that is of truth because we don't have any cameras, apparently, that were non-functional, which is, I think, a lie.
He drove away. So you would think that the
And in
truck
this commercial-
would be an important piece of crime scene evidence. Well, let's see what was done. Now, there is some kind of misconceptions about what was found in this truck. People said, well, they've not found any hair, they didn't find any body fluids, they didn't find anything in the truck to suspect that Chris even transported Shanann and the girls. I mean, we've since learnt that the girls were alive, and we see possibly a shadow of a child
I think it is.
on that footage of Nate's when you blow it up and you really look closely at it. So people say, well, because there was no evidence in the truck, then he can't have transported them in
Not
the truck.
necessarily.
Which is a logical thing to assume. Also, people say the search dog...
You could see it right there. He bent down and picked her up.
People say the search dogs didn't alert
Really?
at the truck. Well, actually,
They did.
one dog did alert. Jane's dog, Cody, the Labrador rescue dog. He alerted at the truck. It wasn't a hard alert, according to handler Jane, but he did show interest in the truck. But he only sniffed the outside. He wasn't allowed inside. The
'Cause they
reason
didn't have the
why
warrant.
the search dogs weren't allowed inside the truck is because it's not Chris's property. It's property of Anadarko.
Darko.
So they would have needed a search warrant to go inside the truck. Why didn't they just get a search warrant?
No kidding.
Is the question. But anyway,
They probably,
and
they'll
also,
probably say, oh, yeah, we did, but we checked it out. Everything seemed clear. That's how this seemed like in this case with some of these detectives. There are good detectives here. There's good law enforcement. But again, it's lazy. It's just, it doesn't seem like they ethically did anything good.
So the police weren't allowed to search inside the truck. They took some photographs on the afternoon of the 13th of August, but they weren't allowed inside that truck. Again, they needed a search warrant. Why didn't they get one?
So if they couldn't go in there, was Anadarko trying to make sure that they didn't make it look like it was Anadarko's fault? That's just another theory that people think that Anadarko could have been involved and they needed this liability or this case to happen for the blow up and stuff like that of the possible site for insurance purposes, but obviously it was never done that way. That's just a theory.
Because I guess on the 13th and possibly also the 14th, although suspicions were growing about Chris, it was a missing persons inquiry. So one would assume that they went missing while Chris was at work. So they didn't yet get a search warrant.
I still think wholeheartedly that you need to play a missing persons case as the utmost top priority, but you almost kind of have to consider a murder because it could end in that. Not saying that all missing people are found murdered, but, or I shouldn't say a murder, you should look at the crime as if it is...
Anyway, let's look at this crime scene report and see whether we can debunk any of the misconceptions about this case in relation to Chris's truck. So this is crime scene analyst David Yoakum's report, and it's a long report because it's a full crime scene analysis. Now, it's about Anadarko, about the house. We only want the vehicle information. So let's pop down part way through this report. Here we go. So scene investigation, vehicles. So there's two vehicles that they searched. Chris's work truck,
And the Lexus.
which is the focus of this video, and then Shanann's Lexus 350. We're not going to worry about that because nothing happened in the Lexus. No one was there in Lexus. The Lexus was in the garage the whole time until it was picked up by the recovery people and taken into storage. So on Tuesday, August 21st, 2018 at 10:00 hours, that's 10 a.m, myself and FSK Henson arrived at Oak Street in Frederick to process and execute a search warrant for the two vehicles which possibly had been used to transport the deceased victims. Present at the impound lot was Detective Baumhofer and Officer Walgi from Frederick Police Department. After a brief discussion, it was decided that CBI would photograph, so that's Colorado Bureau of Investigations, would photograph, collect and package all evidence located. CBI would also use adhesive-based rollers to collect any possible hairs, fibres or other trace evidence from the Ford
So they collected, but did they process?
truck in an attempt to determine any recent possible occupants of the vehicle. The vehicle, Ford truck and Lexus 350 were being stored by B&L Repair Tyre located at 245 Oak Street, Frederick, Colorado. The Lexus was in an indoor pound lot west of the property. Both properties were under the same ownership and control. A 6-foot chain link fence surrounded the property to the west of the building that faces Oak Street. Access and entry to the lot is controlled by B&L Repair and Tyre through the office on the Oak Street side, as well as lock gate on the 3rd Street side. The building is located on the 3rd Street, is locked, accessible only with assistance from B&L Repair and Tyre. The impound facility is contracted for the Frederick PD. Right, so the grey 2000.
So we can be completely descriptive with this stuff, but we can't look into the possible evidence that Nicholkessinger might be involved. This just seems like a little bit overdone. Just saying.
And 15 Ford F-250. The vehicle was parked outdoors in the locked and secure compound to the west of 245 Oak Street, along with several other vehicles. The truck had been exposed to rain showers earlier in the week. It had rained on the 14th. I know it had rained on the 14th. We see that on some officers' body cams. I don't know whether it rained later in the week as well. Really, we're interested in the internal of the truck, so I'm not too fussed that it was outside. The truck was in good condition with no obvious signs of damage. The doors were locked and the window glass was not broken. The truck was an alternative fuel truck powered by compressed natural gas. Interesting. The doors to the truck had been secured with evidence tape. Upon inspection, the tape and seals were intact and not broken. And we do actually see the Lexus being sealed, the doors of the Lexus being sealed on officer's body cam. We don't see them on the truck, but we do see it on the Lexus. Scene processing. In the bed of the truck were affixed toolboxes and fuel tanks, hose implements, as well as miscellaneous hand tools, which included a round point shovel, a square point shovel, and a sickle, were identified and collected. These were part of his work tools because sometimes they had to dig to fix piping and stuff like that.
Or
Chris was an operator. He was out in the field doing repairs and stuff. So these are part of his work tool box, I guess. Also within the bed of the truck was a partially full gas can and a fire extinguisher. We do see him putting a gas can, a red gas can, into the truck on Nate's footage. In the Wisconsin confession on February 2019, Tammy Lee actually brings up the fact that he put the gas can in, and they had a conversation about whether he was actually going to end his own life. All right, so located in the front passenger compartment of the truck, a roll of black plastic bags was
he wanted to be with NK so bad.
Observed and collected from the front passenger side door and collected from the front passenger side floorboard. Again at the Wisconsin confession, they asked him about the trash bags, and he said that he used 2 trash bags, one over Shanann's head and one over her feet, so the girls couldn't see her. The sheet that he wrapped her in didn't fully cover her, so he got some trash bags out of the basement and he just kind of threw them in his truck. The front driver's seat and front passenger seat were covered with canvas seat covers. From the steering wheel, a possible DNA swab was collected, but it does appear that that's the only place they collected DNA swabs from, strangely. So I guess they're established.
Why not fingerprints on the door handles, the the back seats. I mean, come on.
That Chris drove that truck and no one else. But why not collect DNA swabs from the seats, the floor? In the rear seat were 2 large plastic bins that contained miscellaneous work materials, safety equipment, personal items, maps, paperwork. A pair of black rubber boots were located on the floor behind the front passenger seat. Beneath the rear seat were additional miscellaneous tools. So again, all part of Chris's job. Adhesive lifts were collected from the rear seating area and floor. Okay. Located in the front passenger side panel was a green disposable cigarette lighter. Interesting. Chris didn't smoke. And then we've got.
I know there was that. I can't remember where I saw it, but they were saying that something about Nicholkessinger was a smoker. I can't remember because they said there was possible butts outside of the Watts house. I can't remember what this. I'm gonna have to find it, but I thought that was definitely of something to talk about. Was that Nicholkessinger possibly was a smoker, but then she was possibly hiding it. I don't doubt. I mean, she's obviously looking into health, that she didn't want to hurt herself by smoking when she's doing all this eating right and calories and going to the gym and stuff like that. So who knows about that theory?
This here, so we'll move on because the Lexus isn't important. All items of evidence.
I still think the Lexus is important because Nicholkessinger rode in that Lexus at least once or twice. We know for sure that he rode with her to the Lazy Dog because she said she was in there. Do we take it as truthful? Probably not. She could just lie just to make herself seem more happy. But again, I still think that the Lexus should have been looked at not as fine-tooth comb, but still gone through properly.
Collected at the impound facility on Tuesday, August the 21st, were transferred to Detective Baumhofer at 1:10 p.m. on Tuesday, the same day. CBI cleared the scene at the Frederick impound at 13:30 on the same day. That moves now on to the Anadarko site. And then we've got the evidence that was collected: 2 shovels, a sickle, a gas can, swabs from the steering wheel for DNA, black plastic bags, driver's seat and front seat.
If you guys don't know what a sickle is almost like kind of like a Grim Reaper kind of tool. It's more of it's not like a scythe or how you ever pronounce it. It's more of a cup shape kind of blade, as you will.
Seat cover from the work truck, marker, passenger side front seat cover from the work truck, black rubber boots, which were Chris's, trace lift from centre console of work truck, trace lift from rear seat driver's side, trace lift from rear seat passenger side, cigarette lighter. So they did take some trace lifts, but only swabbing from the steering wheel. And then it goes on to the autopsies. There's one more thing I want you to look at before we summarise what all of this means, is that on 9/11/2018, so the 11th of September,
Analyzed of the work truck evidence.
it should be noted that on the 4th of September 2018, while running through the evidence submission list with lab tech Patricia Lopez, several items were listed that the CBI lab ultimately did not wish to take into possession at this time. So the CBI lab, so the Colorado Bureau of Investigation lab, they didn't need these things. Those items were crossed out on the evidence submission form, which have been added to the case file. The refused items are as follows. So oral swabs and swabs that were taken at the autopsies. And then this, driver's side seat cover from work truck, trace lift from centre console, trace lift from back seat. The items that were not taken by CBI were transported back to the Frederick Police Department and checked into evidence there.
So it's probably just sitting there still.
From Amanda Purcell. So does that mean that these lifts, these trace lifts that were taken, were not analysed? Were they analysed by Frederick PD, or were they just stored by Frederick PD? Because the crime lab, the CBI crime lab, didn't want them. So does that mean that they were never tested? There's no evidence in the discovery that they were ever tested. So people who say there was no hair or body fluids or anything found in the truck, well,
They
yeah,
didn't
it wasn't
test for
found
it.
because it wasn't tested. So it begs the question, why was that stuff not tested? Why was it refused by the CBI crime lab? So I'll leave that one with you
crap?
because that's very, very intriguing.
So that's very, very interesting that they had retrieved that evidence, sent it. They're like, we don't need it. But why? Was it paid off? Was it addressed by somebody to make you look the other way? It just, why would you not test it? Why would you not test the whole truck? Again, looking at those pictures that we looked at right here, obviously, with her possibly being inside the back of this truck, if I bring it up like this, it just, I don't see you putting her in there. We never see him actually coming out with somebody he's carrying. We never see that. We see him picking up a daughter and so forth. The back seat is just not big enough for Shanann to be back there while she's not pregnant, let alone pregnant. I just keep thinking, trying to like just look at how he did it or how he would have done it. But I don't feel like I'm a narcissist, so that's probably why I don't understand how he tried to do this. Being a family annihilator, but a crappy one. I would definitely love to see your guys' partake on this when it comes to the truck. A lot of people still think that she was pushed back there and cramped and shoved in the. I just don't see it happening. Again, put your comments down below. I surely love to read all of them. Make sure you guys hit the like button. That obviously, hopefully, all this will make sense one day. And finally, something will be done about Miss Nicholkessinger. We'll see you guys in the next video. Please take care, be safe, and as always, keep nerding on. And we'll see you guys in the next one.